Well, hello everybody. Good evening to you all. Is the sound okay? Is the sound all right? Type in the chat box. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Okay. So good evening to you all, and we are heading into the famous minor holiday known as Lag baOmer. Lag baOmer is the 33rd day of the counting of the Omer, but what it is best known for is that is the day of the passing of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai. The passing of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai is called the Hilula. Hilula really means, essentially what it really means is, it really means a party, right? The day of his passing is regarded as a time of joy and a time of celebration. Not celebration that he passed away, but celebration of what he left behind, and presumably what he passed on to. Then on the day of his passing, Rabbi Shimon asked for his students to not mourn on that day, but to rejoice, because the teachings that he revealed on that day, the deepest teachings of Kabbalah, the section of the Zohar called the Idra Zuta, so that which means the small chamber. So that gives us the essentially the keys and the most important, deepest aspects of the teachings of the Zohar, the teachings of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai. And since his teachings live on, it's as if he himself, so to speak, also lives on. So let's understand this day. This is what it's all about, trying to understand this day, what it really means to us. And essentially, what we have on the day of Lag baOmer is essentially the keys to, in a sense, you could say, the keys to the kingdom. The keys to unlock the deepest secrets and ideas of the Torah. Now, just to start at the beginning, there is a concept called, mentioned in the Zohar and various other places, but it's as follows. I'll first say it in Aramaic and then in English. It says that Kuchabrichu, which is the Holy One, blessed be He, God, Istakal ba'oraisa, he looked into the Torah, Ubara Alma, and he created the world. And I say worlds in the plural because there's more than one world. There are, in fact, 5 worlds, as we'll see shortly. But the idea is that the Torah, it was a blueprint. The Bible is a blueprint. The Bible and all that goes with it is a blueprint from which creation comes about. Now, it's a creation not only of one world, but as we said before, 5 different planes of reality. These 5 different planes of reality, are called the 5 worlds, and each of them has an identical underlying paradigm, an identical underlying structure, although the interpretation of each level of each world is a different form of interpretation. Now, what do I mean by that? There are essentially four levels of interpretation of the Torah. 4 levels of interpretation called from the simplest, the most straightforward, in other words, the story itself, or what meets the eye, which is called pshat, the simple, straightforward level. Then there's what is called remez. Remez means things that are hinted to, but not necessarily stated explicitly. Part of Remez, for example, is what is called in Hebrew gematria, or in Aramaic actually gematria. Gematria means numerical value. So you have the numerical value of words matching up with the numerical value of other words, and you see, therefore, they have an underlying connection. One of the examples that I like to give for this is, for example, the word hand in Hebrew is yad, right? Yad, which in Hebrew is spelled yud dalet. Now, every letter in Hebrew has a numerical value. The first letter of the alphabet is 1. Second letter, 2. Aleph, 1. Bet, 2. Gimel, 3, and so on and so forth until you get to 10, Yud. Right? Then it goes 20, 30, etc., until you get to 400, and then you start adding the letters together to get 500, and so on and so forth. Okay, so the word, to explain again, we're explaining what remez is. So the word for hand in Hebrew is yad, and yad has the gematria, the numerical value of yud and dalet. That's 10 and 4, 14. Now, if you have a look, how many joints there are in the hand, or how many sections there are in the hand. So you look at your fingers, and you'll find that each finger has 3 sections, and your thumb has 2 sections. Right, so 3 sections to the fingers. That's 4 times 3 is 12, and the thumb has 2. That's another 2. That's 14. So yad and 14. You can see that the yad represents the term in Hebrew. The name for the hand in Hebrew is representative of what the hand really does. That it's structured in a certain way. That underlying structure of 14 sections of the hand gives us an understanding of what the hand is all about, essentially. So that's the level of remez. Again, the simple explanation, pshat, the explanation that's hinted to remez. Then you have drush or drash, which is like the homiletical explanation of the Torah, which means basically what you would hear in a sermon. Yeah, the sermonizing aspect of things, behavior, encouragement to behave in the right way. Explaining right from wrong, explaining philosophical principles, ideas, etc. That would be in the realm of drash. And then there's sod, the secrets of the Torah. And then there's the secrets of the Torah, which would be what is called razin d'oraisa, the secrets of the Torah. Now, these 4 levels of explanation correspond to the 4 worlds. And then the 5th one, which transcends and contains all of them, as we know, corresponds to the 4 worlds. And the 4 worlds are, starting from the bottom, Asiya, the world of action, Yetzira, the world of formation, Beriah, which is the world of creation, where things come into being, Atzilus, the world of closeness, the world of emanation, which is the world that is close. Its experiences a closeness to God. These are planes of reality. And then finally, the world of what is called Adam Kadmon, right? The primal world, or the meta world, which really contains all of the other worlds. Now, all of these 4 worlds, these 5 worlds essentially, correspond to the 5 levels of interpretation of the Torah. So Asiya corresponds to Pshat, because we said before, just one second, we said before that God looked into the Torah and he created the world. So for each level of interpretation that there is in the Torah, so a world was created. The world that was created from the straightforward, straightforward explanation of the Torah is called Pshat. From the simple, straightforward explanation of the Torah called Pshat is the world of Asiya. So Asiya was created through Pshat. Remez created the world of Yetzira, the world of formation. Drash creates the world of Bria, the world of coming into being. And Sod, the secret teachings of the Torah create the world of Atzilut. The secrets of the Torah create essentially the world of Adam Kadmon. So the secrets of the Torah reside in Adam Kadmon. And essentially, what happened on Lag BaOmer, on the day of Lag BaOmer, was that Rabbi Shimon revealed the secrets of the Torah, and that's why he talks about the world of Adam Kadmon and what it looks like. The world of Adam Kadmon, this very, very highest level of existence, of planes of reality. And that is what he revealed on that particular day. So now, since everything is found in the Torah, everything is, as the Ramban, Nachmanides, famous story goes that he had a student who one day sort of disappeared, and he was never heard from for many, many years. And then one day he came back, and the Ramban saw him and saw that he'd completely left the fold. He'd what in the lingo is called, he'd fried out, right? He'd become a free thinker, basically. And the Ramban, this is Nachmanides, asked him, what happened to you? So he said, well, it was because of something that you taught me. He said, well, what was that? I didn't know that I taught you something that was untrue. He said, yes, you did. What you taught me was that there's nothing that is not hinted to in the Torah. And Ramban said, I still maintain that. And so the student said, former student said, so where am I hinted to in the Torah? So I told him. And that's a long story. I don't want to go into the verses now because we won't have time for it. But there was a certain verse, and the third letter of each verse spelled out his name. Reb Avner was his name. So in any event, then he was really shocked, and he said, well, what's my tikkun? What rectification do I have? What can I do to repair everything that I did wrong? So he said, this is what you have to do, what it says in the verse, and he told him what to do. In any event, so the Zohar therefore says, when God looked into the Torah and created the world, he used the world, so to speak, as a blueprint. Sorry, he used the Torah as a blueprint for creating all the worlds. He used it as a blueprint for creating all the worlds. Therefore, everything is hinted to in the Torah. So we could ask ourselves, like the Talmud, the Gemara asks about the holiday. There were certain holidays that were established by the rabbis. Two of them are Chanukah and Purim. The festival of Chanukah, when we light the menorah, and the festival of Purim were both established by the rabbis because of certain historical events and tremendous salvation that was experienced by the Jewish people at that time, and therefore they established these holidays. But the rabbis want to know that how can you establish a holiday really if you don't have any previous command to do so in the Torah. In other words, everything has to come from there, and we don't make up things by ourselves. So it must be hinted to in the Torah somewhere. So they asked the question, where do we find, for example, in the story of Purim, you have Haman, and you have Esther, Queen Esther. So the Gemara in Megillah asks the question, Haman min ha-Torah minayin. Where do you find a hint to Haman in the Torah? And then it brings a verse and says, Hamina eitz hazeh, did you eat from this tree? Hamina eitz hazeh achaltem, did you eat from this tree? That this was after the sin of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. God says to Adam, did you eat from this tree? Hamin, the words Hamin, Hey Mem Nun, spell the same letters as Haman. Similarly with Esther. Esther min ha-Torah minayin, where do we find Esther in the Torah? Anochi haster astir panai bayomahu, I will hide my face, I will hide my countenance on that day. God says on the day that people are overwhelmed with sin, I will hide my face on that day. I won't go away, so to speak, but I will hide my face on that day. That's where Esther comes from. So the whole story of Purim took place at a time when there was tremendous Helen v'Hester, there was tremendous concealment of godliness, and therefore there was a lot of confusion, and people didn't really know what to do until along came the great tzaddik, the great righteous person, the holy man Mordechai, whose name is also found in various Mordechai, Miradachia, speaking about the myrrh. The myrrh was made so. In any event, the rabbis often look for a hint for something that's in the Torah. So we can ask the same question. Where is Lag baOmer hinted to in the Torah? Now, the rabbis don't ask this question. It's not something that is found in the Talmud or anywhere like that. But it's a question that we can ask nevertheless, by sort of extrapolation from the questions that were asked by the rabbis. In other words, they were teaching us how to approach the subject. So, where do we find Lag baOmer hinted to in the Torah, in the Bible? Well, in fact, there are two verses. There are two verses where this is found. And just bear with me for a minute, and I will show you what these verses are. Here we go. Share screen. Okay, here we go. All right. Here are the two verses. First, I'll just read the Hebrew, and then I'll translate. It says as follows: Vayetze. Vayoma Lavan leYaakov. Lavan says to Yaakov, to Jacob. Lavan, this is Laban, as is more commonly known. Laban says to Jacob, Hine hagal hazeh. Here is this pile of stones. There's a special name for it. I forget what it's called now, but it's like a marker that marks a border, but it's simply a pile of stones. It's a border marker, but there's a special name for it. Maybe a turn or something like that, T-E-R-N, or a kern, K-E-R-N. I don't remember. Vaguely, I sort of remember the terminology. If anyone knows it, they can alert me to that via the chat or whatever. In any event, so that was Vayoma Lavan leYaakov. Jacob says to Lavan says to Jacob. Lavan was the father-in-law of Jacob, but he was a pretty wicked person, and Jacob ran away from him with his 4 wives, who were all the daughters of Lavan from different wives. And he ran away with them and all his children and so on. Then Lavan caught up to him and wanted to battle him. And the word of God came to Lavan that night and said, just leave him alone. Are you looking for trouble? You start with him, you're starting with me. And so on. And anyway, they made a pact, right? So Jacob says, Lavan says to Jacob, Hine hagal hazeh. Here is this pile of stones. This pile of stones marked the pact that they made. They made a pact, a peace pact, that we'll see what the peace pact was all about. V'hina hamatzeva, and this is the column of stones, essentially, asher yarisi beini uvenecha, which we have set up between you and me. Eid hagal hazeh. This pile of stones is a testimony. Let it be a testimony. Eid hagal hazeh. That's the phrase which is brought in Hasidic texts as the hint to the festival of Lag baOmer. The word gal over here, this is what's marked in yellow over here. Let me just get my spotlight. What's marked in yellow, hagal, this word gal, spells out in Hebrew, as we said before, every letter has a numerical value. So the numerical value of Gimel is 3. And the numerical value of Lamed is 30, so that's 33 altogether. That's the 33rd day of the Omer, the day of the passing of Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, the author of the Zohar. So, again, Eid hagal hazeh, this gal, this pile of stones, is a testimony. Va'eda, and it's a testament, hamatzeva, this pile of stones. If I don't pass towards you, pass this pile of stones towards you, and you won't pass by me. In other words, it's a border. It's a border marking, and we won't cross over the border one to the other. Right? We won't cross this border for evil purposes. In other words, for you to come and attack me, or for me to come and attack you. Right? As we said, it's in Genesis 31:52, Laban said to Jacob, let this pile of stones be a testimony. So this pile of stones, right, the pile, the word for pile in Hebrew is gal, right, 30, which, again, the numerical value is 33. Okay, so you could ask the question, and it's a very, it's a very valid question to ask. What on earth does this have to do with Lag BaOmer? I mean, it's a nice idea that there's two letters which are spell out the number 33, which is Lag BaOmer, the 33rd day of the Omer. But what's the connection between them? There doesn't seem to be any connection in terms of the content of those verses and the whole story of Lag BaOmer and what it was all about. And that was the day that Rabbi Shimon revealed these tremendous secrets of the secrets of the secrets of the Torah. So what is this trying to tell us? What's the hint here? Well, let's look at the second verse. There's a second verse, a verse from Psalms 119:18. That says also, Gal Einai va'abita nifla'os mitorasecho. Open up my eyes, and I will see miracles, wonders from your Torah. Now, this sounds a little bit more plausible here. This seems to be a much better connection. Gal Einai, open up my eyes. Va'abita, and I will see the wonders of your Torah, wonders from your Torah. Now we can understand wonders from your Torah has to do possibly with the secrets of the Torah. And in fact, the Kabbalistic and Hasidic works say that this word niflaot, the word wonders, is nun plaot. There are 50 wonders. A hint to the 50th gate of understanding, which is the one that transcends human intellect, the one that was given to Moses, to Moshe Rabbeinu, only on the day that he passed on to eternal life, to the afterlife. Only then was revealed to him. Similarly to Rabbi Shimon, on the last day of his existence in this world, was revealed to him the highest secrets of the Torah, and he passed them on to us. So this verse we can understand a little bit that it has much more of a connection, we would think, to Lag BaOmer. However, we have a question on this verse as well. Not so straightforward. The question on this verse is as follows. It says, open my eyes so that I might see the wonders from your Torah, which our sages tell us, again, is the secrets of the Torah. Open my eyes so that I may see the secrets of your Torah. Now, the question is as follows. Why does it say, open my eyes? The eyes are not the problem. The problem is that they're secrets. Secrets are something that's hidden, and we can't see them, right? They're hidden away. You can't see them, can't hear them. Right, they're hidden away. There's something that in and of themselves are inaccessible. It's got nothing to do with my ability to see. I can't see something that's hidden away, can I? I can't hear something that's kept silent. So why does it say, open my eyes? What is the intention of that? Okay. So in order to be able to understand all of this, we have to understand what are the niflaos of the Torah. What are these wonders and these secrets of the Torah? Where do they come from? What are they all about? So, right at the beginning of Genesis, at the beginning of creation, there is a verse, a very important verse, which I don't have copied over here, but it's right at the beginning of Genesis, one of the first verses. It says as follows, in the first chapter, one of the first verses. It says, Vayomer Elokim yihi or, vayhi or. God said, there shall be light, and there was light. It's often translated as let there be light, but I don't like that one, because let there be means kind of as if there was something preventing it. There was nothing preventing it. We're talking about God here, right? So I like to translate it as there shall be light, and there was light. Now, the Zohar points out, again, the Zohar is the work of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, so I'm quoting a lot from the Zohar because that's in honor of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, whose Hilula we celebrate on Sunday. So, the Zohar says about this idea that when God said, there shall be light, he had in mind, his intention was that the light should be as it is in its primary form. In other words, the essential light, the way it's supposed to be. There shall be light, the true light, the essential light. But then it says, Vayehi or, and there was light. Says the Zohar, the light that was not the light that was originally intended. Why not? Because God saw that the world would not be able to withstand the intensity of this light and still continue to exist, and therefore he concealed the light. Now, the Zohar goes on to explain that all of the other utterances through which the world was created, our sages tell us that the world was created through 10 utterances. The world was created through 10 utterances. And all the utterances, all the other utterances, whenever it says Vayomer Elokim, and God said there shall be a firmament separating between the upper waters and the lower waters, there shall be grasses, there shall be animals, and so on and so forth, human beings. All of those, whenever it says Vayomer Elokim Yehi, there shall be, God said there shall be. So it says afterwards, Vayehi Chayin, and so it was. God said there shall be, and so it was. Only by light does it not say that. It says Vayehi or, Yehi or, Vayehi or, right? There shall be light, and there was light. So the Zohar notes the discrepancy between this verse and all the others that talk about creation, and says the reason that there's a discrepancy is because the light that was not the light that was intended to be. Because God saw that it was going to destroy the world because it was too intense, and therefore he concealed it. Where did he conceal it? He concealed it in the Torah. Where's that concealed in the Torah? In the secrets of the Torah. In fact, in the secrets of the Torah primarily. Gan zoi b'Torah. Rak Rosh Baruch Hu, she'ein olam kadai, Omen v'gan zoi b'Torah. Right? He hid it away in the Torah. So therefore, again, we have our question, since the light is hidden, what's it going to help to open my eyes? My eyes might be open, I won't see the light anyway because it's concealed, right? It's concealed and sealed up over there that I won't be able to get to it. Furthermore, since both of these verses are brought as sources for the hint to Lag baOmer, this day of Lag baOmer, both of them have the word Gal in them, which if you just transpose the letters, switch them around, is Lag, right? So if, why are there two verses? What's the connection between these two verses? What is the connection between them that would help us understand what Lag baOmer is all about? Okay, so in order to be able to explain that a little bit further, we have to bring a teaching from the Sefer Yetzirah. The Sefer Yetzirah was a very, very ancient work. It was said to be the oral teachings that came from Abraham, from Avraham Avinu, from Abraham, and were handed down from generation to generation until they were written down by Rabbi Akiva, the great Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva lived in the around the time of the first century. So this teaching of Abraham was called the Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Formation. And in fact, it is a very cryptic, but nevertheless very well-known work. Well-known in the sense that everyone knows about it, but not many people understand it. So it's a complicated work. Okay, so one of the things that it says in Sefer Yetzirah, amongst the many others, is one of the Mishnahs in Sefer Yetzirah, one of the teachings is as follows. It says like this, that 2 stones build 2 houses. And 3 stones build 6 houses. And then it goes on to the calculation, right? 4 stones, 5 stones, etc. Okay, what does it mean by 2 stones build 2 houses? So the commentaries on the Sefer Yetzirah explain the Arizal and various others explain that stones over here doesn't mean stones literally. Stones means letters, right? Letters of the alphabet, letters of the Hebrew alphabet. 2 stones build 2 houses means that the letters can be in a combination of A, B, B, A, Aleph, Bet, Bet, Aleph, right? Aleph, Bet, A, B is 1 house, and B, A, or Bet, Aleph, is a 2nd house. And so it goes on with all the letters, Aleph, Gimel, Aleph, Dalet, and so on and so forth. All of the letters could be in 2-letter combinations. The simplest combination is a 2-letter combination, and in each 2-letter combination, there's 2 possibilities, right? Forward possibility, Aleph, Bet, A, B, and a backward possibility, B, A, right? The 2nd letter coming first instead of the 1st letter. Right? B later in the alphabet, coming before A, which is earlier in the alphabet. So that's a reverse. Tziruf, as it's called in Hebrew, a reverse combination. Okay, so now when we said that the gull, this pile of stones that existed, that Lavan set up between himself and Jacob, what was that pile of stones according to this teaching in the Sefer Yetzirah? According to the teachings of Sefer Yetzirah, the pile of stones was a pile of letters. But the pile of letters put together in a random way. What's the difference between a pile of stones and a wall? Right, a wall is that the bricks are laid in a very organized and coherent fashion so that the wall will stand, it won't fall over, right? But a pile of stones is just a pile. It doesn't have any coherent structure. In other words, it's all mixed up. All the letters are mixed up, and all the letters are, all the stones, which are the letters, are in a jumble. Now, this is explained, by the way, by the great Hasidic sage named Rabbi Shimon Zalman of Liadi. Shneir Zalman of Liadi, or better known as the Alter Rebbe, the first Chabad or Lubavitch Rebbe, the first Hasidic master of the Chabad branch of Hasidism. So these letters, therefore, were in a state of, they were basically encrypted, right? The letters were all jumbled up, and it was in a state of encryption. And why did there need to be a state of encryption? Because where Jacob was going to the land of Israel, corresponds to the world of Atzilut, the world of emanation, which is full of light. And how much more so Jerusalem, and how much more so the Holy of Holies. Right? It said the Mishnah in one of the Mishnaic teachings. Mishnah is the oral Torah, one of the teachings of the oral Torah. There's the written Torah and there's the oral interpretation. So one of the teachings of the oral Torah is that there's 10 levels of holiness of the land of Israel. There's just the land of Israel, and then the Jerusalem, and Jerusalem within the walls, and then Jerusalem in the Harabayit, the Temple Mount, and so on and so forth, and so it goes on. In any event, the Holy of Holies would correspond to the world of Adam Kadmon, right? The Holy of Holies, or the temple itself, would correspond to the world of Adam Kadmon. The rest of Israel corresponds to the world of Atzilus, right? The world of emanation, the world that is closest to God, of the worlds that we call worlds, rather than the meta world of Adam Kadmon. In any event, because the world of Atzilus is so full of light, and the other side of the barriers, the worlds of Bria and Yetzirah and Asiya, which are worlds in which the light is very much attenuated, it's very narrowed down, so that the worlds won't sort of explode with light. They won't simply dissolve into the light. Therefore, there has to be a barrier between them. So this barrier between them, this pile of stones, a barrier between Jacob and Lavan, this pile of stones is sort of an encrypted form. It's encryption that prevents this world, the world of Atzilus, from being accessed by the other worlds or from spilling over into the other world. So there's an encryption that prevents that from happening. What is the purpose of the Zohar? The purpose of the Zohar is to give you the keys to how to unencrypt it, decrypt it, or to decode it, as the terminology in English would be. Kabbalah Decoded, my website, right? Kabbalah Decoded, because that's what we try and do. We try and decode this encryption. So in other words, what is this idea of the pile of stones? The pile of stones represents an encrypted message or encrypted messages, and if we know how to unencrypt them, to decode them, then we'll be able to pass through from the lower worlds to the higher worlds, and from the higher worlds to the lower worlds. The influence, the energy, the light from the higher worlds can come to the lower worlds, and inhabitants of the lower worlds will be able to step up to the higher worlds if they know how to decode the random pile of stones, the random letters that have meaning, that have mystical significance and mystical meaning. And that is, in fact, what the Rashbi, Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, revealed on that day. He revealed the keys of how this actually all works, how it all works together. But what he told, he himself did not write down these teachings. He told one of his students, Rabbi Abba was his name, to write it, but to write it in such a way that it remains encrypted, but nevertheless accessible. It remains encrypted, but nevertheless accessible. And that was the teachings of the Idra Zuta, that are encrypted, but nevertheless accessible. Now, how does this unencryption, the decoding, how does the decoding work? So what I'm saying now is not something that I've seen explicitly, but something that I've come to the conclusion is a very good guess at probably what's happening. As we said before, when God created the worlds, he looked into the Torah and he created the worlds, right? He looked into each of the levels of the Torah and created the worlds. Now, something that is true in the highest world cannot be false in the lowest world. Something that's false in the lowest world cannot be true in the higher world. In other words, truth is something that doesn't change. It's unchanging. That's one of the definitions of truth. Truth is not simply truth with a capital T, I suppose you would say, right? Truth with a capital T means it's something that's immutable. It doesn't change. Truth is truth. The sages, when describing what they call living waters for one of the services in the temple, was called the paraduma, they needed living water. What was living water? Living water was water that came from a spring that didn't dry up, not even once in 7 years. So you could ask the question, okay, so right now the spring is flowing. What I care if 20 years ago, or 7 years ago, or 8 years ago, or whatever it was, the spring dried up. What I care if in 10 years from now, 8 years from now, the spring is going to dry up. Right now, there's running water. Why can't I use the water that's coming out of the spring now? So the sages answer that that's what's called living water. So this analogy is used to explain the concept of truth. Truth is something that's immutable. It doesn't change. It wasn't something different 10 years ago, and it will be something different again in another 10 years. Truth is something that remains. In any event, truth, the way it's understood by the Torah. So therefore, something that's true in the highest world has to be true in the lowest world as well. All the levels, all the planes of reality, if it's Atzilus, if it's the world of Bria, the world of Yetzirah, the world of Asiya, has to be the same paradigm, the same truth, even though it's explained and experienced in a different way. I suppose you could call this, in a sense, for those of you who are familiar with it, something like blockchain encryption, right? the encryption is distributed right throughout all the worlds, and everyone in their world has access to the same information. But what's on my computer might be a whole different world, because I'm a different person and I'm living in a different plane of reality, possibly, right? So I'm not saying that I am. I'm just saying as an analogy, right? So basically, therefore, what happened was, on this day, Rabbi Shimon gave the clues, the keys, the maftechot, the keys to be able to unencrypt, to decode the entire Torah. But how do you go about it as an individual? Well, you start at the bottom. You start with your world of Asiya, right? And once you've decoded the underlying code of the world of Asiya, in other words, you understand things as they are the truth in the world of Asiya, then you can go on to the next world, up to the next world, the world of Bria. The world of Yetzirah, the world of formation. And then you go into the world of Bria. And then eventually you can actually cross over. You can bypass that the pile of stones. You can bypass the encryption completely, because you'll be in the upper world. In other words, you're the master of the encryption, right? You understand, you have the keys, and you understand the encryption completely. That's why the second verse says, let me just skip back to the second verse again. That's why the second verse says, open my eyes that I may see wonders from your Torah. In other words, don't just reveal the wonders of the Torah. They're already revealed. They're already there. But they're encrypted. So, in other words, they're accessible, but they're encrypted, and I have to open my eyes. I'm asking God, actually, to help me open my eyes. But I have to do the seeking in order to be able to come to the ultimate emes, the truth that is found at least in this world. And how do I do that? By studying Torah of this world, studying Torah that has to do with this world on the simple, straightforward level, and then studying Torah on the next level, and then studying Torah on the third level, and then the fourth level, and eventually we get to the deepest and highest level of the Torah, which is the secrets of the Torah. And that's really what Lag BaOmer is all about. That's what it achieved. That's what Rabbi Shimon did on the day of his party, the day of his parting, and the day of his celebration, his party. He made a party then. That is the day that we celebrate, for the reason that we were given this tremendous teaching that enables us to ultimately delve into the higher worlds and the highest of the highest worlds. Okay. All right, are there any questions?